Good morning, Thomas.
Hello.
Welcome to Friday. Been a long week together. We had a pretty decent day yesterday at Churchill Downs, minus our error where we thought the pick four started in race one. I wish it did start in race one because I closed it out with the single on the 8 and it won going easily. But of course, the next race was the fifth race, the race of death,
Well,
the only.
It was nice that we both blew it.
Yeah. And that fifth race, the race of death, was the only race on the card where I didn't have the winner in my top 3 picks. Of course, the race of death. That's why I've termed it the race of death. And it was a first-time starter. That didn't really look too good on paper. That kind of came and surprised everybody. So,
Yeah, I didn't think much of that first-time starter, and the breeding didn't suggest anything. But you never know with those, especially when you're in a crap field like that was. As you said, maybe take the first-time starter over some of the ones that have the experience because they haven't done anything yet.
Yeah, they haven't shown that they can win, and this one hasn't proven that it can't, right?
Yeah,
absolutely, for sure. All right, well, one of the things we're not going to see in our trip through France and first through England, then through France, is any crap fields because we're going to go to Epsom and we're going to go to Chantilly. How do you probably pronounce it differently?
Chantilly.
I'm going to go with Chantilly. I'm going to do this stupid American pronunciation. There you go. Right, live up to our reputation across the globe as the dumb American. But in any case, what do you know about these tracks? What are we looking for? I know that the surface in England's supposed to be good, although I read there might be some rain.
It's good to soft, but good in places. Mm-hmm. The running today, they were going down the middle of the track when they hit the stretch. That seems to be the best going, and that was found out really quickly in the first race. The winner came from the middle of the track, and I think we'll probably see that as a trend tomorrow too. It looks like it's not really favoring the speeds too much, but the last race, the speed horse won. Mm-hmm. So you never know.
You never can tell. Well, before we go to Epsom and go through the picks, let's take a look at this. I would say interestingly shaped. If there's ever a track that should be a horse track, it should be this one, because if they would just curve the bottom a little bit, it would be shaped like a horseshoe.
Yeah. And you start the race out in the middle of nowhere, or so it seems, but it's all uphill until you begin to hit the curve, and then it levels off, and then it goes downhill, and then it's uphill to the finish. So it is a challenging 1.5 miles as the Derby is, and of course today was the Oaks, and the Oaks was certainly a challenge race.
And how did your picks do in the Oaks? Like that, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So,
Aidan O'Brien with Tuesday won the race by nostril over Emily Upjohn, which is my second choice. She blew the start. She slipped at the start and had to be gathered up, and was the last out of the gate.
Well, let's see if we can be first out of the gate in race number 2.
That would be nice.
Yes, indeed. So race number 2 is 1 1/16 miles on the turf. This is the Princess Elizabeth Stakes for fillies and mares. It's a Group 3, fillies and mares 3 years old and up. Weights, well, we don't need to worry about the weights. But looking at this card, Tom, on this first race, I see a pace that sets up where you have a couple of front runners up in here, but it looks to me like most of the field. So I got 3 that want to be up front, most of the field that would prefer to be middle and back. Do you see it the same way?
Yes, I felt that this is a closer race for sure.
All right.
I could see a stalker winning it too. But I don't think the front runners are going to be there at the end.
Yeah, I only see one real true closer in this race, and you say you see a closer winning. Maybe
I see a couple of them that could close.
Well, I see a bunch that can close, but also have shown a history of being mid-pack or pressuring the leader. So one that I think is just a true closer, that's all it ever does, and that's the one I settled on as my top pick, but we'll see where you settled on for your top pick.
Okay. I went with number 9, Majestic Glory is my top pick. 7 starts, 2 wins, a second and a third. Last out in a Group 3, she lost by 1 3/4 lengths to Wild Beauty. She had some problems in this race at the start, and she was held towards the rear and the back and was put on the near side with the runners there. And about one furlong out, she joined the leaders and made up some ground pretty well and really finished nicely out of that race. She's a Group 3 winner at Newmarket in July. It's her first attempt at this distance, but the breeding says no problem. She's by Frankel. Mm-hmm. And she's one of the few 3-year-olds in this race, and 3-year-olds at this time of year get a big weight advantage. And you can see that Flash Betty and has got 8-10, and whereas 9-8 for the older ones and more. So there's a definite weight advantage, and that's true of fillies and mares, and also the fillies and also the colts. Number 4, Potapova is my next choice. Has 6 starts, 2 wins, and a second. She ran a second last time out at the Kempton in the all-weather, which was her first start of the year. She has a win as a 2-year-old, as a 3-year-old, but her Group 3 races have been less than stellar. 9th at Royal Ascot, 4th at Sandown, and 10th at Doncaster.
Nice.
So why do you pick her? Well, I go with that maturity angle. She ran a nice race at Kempton. She obviously needed that race. She's now 4, and like the bettors over there, I think she's going to improve off that race and get a great chance to get some money here. Ryan Moore has the mount, and never complain about him on one of my horses.
No, and when the trainer's name starts with Sir, he must be good at what he does.
Yes, Sir Michael Stout. Number 1, Bashkirova is my final one, and that'll be the favorite in this race. 5 starts, 3 wins, and a second. Nice race at Goodwood last time out in a listed race. She ran second, and she set some of the pace, and she got caught at the end is the best way to describe.
And that was at a mile, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And now they're going a little bit longer?
A little bit extra there, yeah.
And the horse that passed her, is that one in this race too, or no?
No. She's definitely a late developing horse. She didn't make her debut until last year in August, which means you got the sight of patience because she's fairly well bred. I mean, a nice horse. And then she really went on a tear, and she's been at the lower levels. So this is definitely a step up for her. So she's gone from maiden to a novice to a class 2. And today, of course, class 1 group 3 race. So, she's improving. I mean, and I think longer distance won't hurt her any. Again, it's that seasoning. Look how long it took her to get them. Look how long it took them to get her to the track. So that should tell you something there too.
Well, I mentioned at the start, looking at the pace setup, it looks to me like there's 3 speed horses and a bunch that want to pressure, and then one that's a true closer. That true closer is your second pick, the 4-horse Potapova. That's going to be my top choice here. Horse did run on good surface a couple of times. One good run, one bad run. I don't think the distance is going to be a problem for this horse. I'm going to go with number 3, Miss Fitzherbert, as my second choice, Tom, because it looks to me like in that last race, Miss Fitzherbert was the one that ran by Bashkirova, and that was at a mile, and now they're going a mile and a 16th. I think that extra 16th helps Fitzherbert and hurts Bashkirova. And then I'm going to close it out with number 7, Technique. That is, well, Bashkirova is my 3rd pick. So the 4th pick is Technique. This one really hasn't caught a good surface that often, but when he does, or when she does, excuse me, this 4-year-old, second by a head last time out, second by a head the time before that, and then the time before that, second by a head. I think you see a trend there. 3 good surfaces, second by a head in every one of them. So maybe today the horse can find a little bit of extra length, get a little bit of stretch out there, get that nose out there at the wire, lean into the wire like the good sprinters do, Tom. race. Oh, and just briefly, race number, that first race that we're going to do, before I always forget, because I want to do things like in some kind of order, but that one's going to start at race number, the one we just covered is going to start at 9:35 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, Saturday, June the 4th. The next race we're going to do is race number 3, again, 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. This is the Cazoo Diomed Stakes. It's a Group 3, fillies 3 years old and up. And this one will begin at 10 p.m. And if we take a look real quick at the track, this one, oh, that's the wrong track. That's the one we're going to do later on. So
yeah, it'd be a little different.
1 mile and a 16th, I'm going to guess that's right here, 1 mile and 114 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go up the hill. They're going to go flat. They're going to turn. They're going to run down the hill into the turn, and then uphill to the round stop sign, probably on the wrong side of the road as well. Tell us what you like, Tom.
I took what I think will be the favorite, number 4, Modern News, as my top choice. 10 starts, 6 wins, a second and a third. He started he debuted in Dubai as his first race. Was a listed race there. He ran third. Then he moved to Doncaster and really ran probably the worst race of his career. It was a Class 2 handicap, but the Lincoln is initiates the season in England, the flat season. But this race, she ran 7th, but there was 22 runners, so you get the idea. There's a lot of going on in those races. Mm-hmm. The other races he's won at 1 mile. He's done very well at these kind of and I think a little extra distance not going to hurt him any. It's a step up in company. There's no question about that, but he seems to want that distance. And again, we have Charlie Appleby and William Buick, and those are always a nice pair to have on your side if you'd like the horse.
They do indeed.
Number 3, Magellan, my next choice. 13 starts, 3 wins, 5 seconds, and a third. Really two good fair efforts, good to fair efforts. One race was at Chester, ran third in a 4-horse field. That was a Group 2 race, and then running second in Newmarket in a Group 3. The last race, he just didn't finish. The extra furlong, I don't know. Maybe it was the Chester course, which is a much tighter turn than this one is, or
maybe it was just slippery.
Yeah, he just didn't do well. He was a Group 3 winner last year at Salisbury. He's getting weight, yes, in that race, but he really looked nice. And this is a Gosden train, and Frankie Dettori has the mount. Number 1, Escobar, is my final one. Slightly more experience than these other horses. Has 55 starts, 6 wins, 6 seconds, and 9 thirds. Winner at York last out in the first start of the season in a Class 2. Had the top weight in that race, and it was in the back of the field, got to the 2 furlong marker, and then just took off. Mm-hmm. And it was a nice debut, certainly. This horse is never placed in a group race in a 55 race career. But one factor I thought was really interesting was the jockey. Jason Watson has been on this horse 3 times. He has a win, a second, and a third. Yes, there's been lots of other jockeys on this horse over its career, but I thought his record may just be enough to get this horse in the money. And I don't know. I think you'll get somewhat of a price. I would be surprised if you didn't.
Yeah, it looks like 16 to
round
right
out
now.
a Zactor or trifecta. That would be a pretty nice run for this older horse.
Yeah, he's the longest shot on the board right now at 16 to 1. I'm going to start the same place you did with Modern News. Again, taking a look at this short 6-horse field, I have 1 speed horse. I have 3, maybe 4 that like to pressure, and 1 that likes to close. The closer I didn't really care for at all. That was your Escobar. But in any case, I do think Modern News
racing.
Yes, well, it's opinions. That's what you said, right? Everybody has one. Mm-hmm. Some are winning
we
opinions. Some are not winning opinions, and sometimes we go back and forth. But I do like Modern News. This horse looks to me like it's getting stronger right now. The last race, it won by 4 1/4 lengths. 2 races in a row that it's won with William Buick up. And I just think he's getting to know this horse better and could make easy work of this field. If you get better than 1-to-1 odds, I think that would be a gift. The next horse I like is this is a horse you probably hate since I didn't like one of yours, but this is the one speed horse in my opinion, and that is Zakowski, the 6 horse. And if Zakowski can get off to the front and do so without really being pressured, and that last couple of races at Dubai didn't look like that, but coming back on the first time off the start, has done well on the turf, won 5 times in 11 races. And these must have been some pretty good races too, because in those 11 races that he won, in those 5 races that he won, second and a third in the 11 on turf, it was $450,000 worth of winnings, which is one of the best, if not the best, in terms of total money won so far. So you got a horse that looks like it has a pace advantage, been facing some pretty tough company, and maybe at a nice price at 10-1 can show up for second. I like the 5 horse as my third choice. Mustakabeg. I know I screwed that up, but this horse is one of those that likes to win or nothing at all for the most part. 8 times out, 4 wins and a second. And that second place was last time out, and it was only by a neck. So really a little bit of luck, a little bit of a lunge, good, better photo. Maybe it's got 5 wins in 8 races. And then I'm going to close it out with number 3, Magellan, your pick as well. So horses that done well on a good surface. And in 10 races on the turf, won $163,000. Again, one of the larger sums of money that a horse has won in this group. So that tells me it's been facing some better company. Looks like it's in good form to me and likes a good footing. So that's why I went with Modern News, Zawowski, Mustakabeg, and then, of course, Magellan.
And that's the official pronunciation.
Yes, that's what we do around here. We put such an emphasis on making sure that we pronounce things correctly, Terry. And last night, it was pretty easy to pronounce things correctly because we sat down with Tyler Gaffleon, and I'm sure that his name is not always so easy to pronounce, much like mine. And we talked about a couple of big races, 3 of them that he has mounts on over at Churchill Downs this Saturday. So if you're going to make any bets over at Churchill Downs, I thought he was kind of frank about his horses, kind of frank about the way he sees things, and it was a good interview. Unfortunately, he was driving, so we didn't get to see his face, but we did get to hear his voice crystal clear.
We did, and also he has a lot of mounts in that. I think he's got every race he's got a mount on Saturday, so he's going to definitely be a busy jockey.
He's going to be a busy man Saturday at Louisville, Kentucky for sure. And to think this morning, he got up at 3:30 in the morning. He drove over to Lexington.
To Keeneland to work out horses.
Oof, the life of a jockey. Probably not as sexy as people hope, right?
Well, the last work was at 9:30 or 9:40 or something. It was later. So now he's got to hop in the car to make the Churchill card.
In a nice car at that, though. So, I mean, it's not like he's clunking across.
No, he's made a few bucks. So he's done pretty well for himself. So I think that, and he's really not that deep into his career yet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next with him, because I think he's due for some really bigger things.
Yes, and I even had some fun with him last night, joking that he's been that jockey for me that when I bet on him, I lose, and when I don't bet on him, he wins. So he agreed 1%. If I promise to never bet on Tyler Gaffleon again, he agreed that he will split 1% of all winnings with me going forward with Sean as my agent. We'll split that for sure. Sean's my people, his people. All right, so we're going to move off to Epsom, race number 4, back to England. This one is a 5 furlong, a Simpex Express Dash handicap. So basically looking at that track, it looks like they're going to start here. They're going to run downhill, run uphill to the circular stop sign on the wrong side of the road once again. And on these sprint races, Thomas, that you watch, what's the key to winning?
It's really going to be, because this is a big field, it's going to be your positioning. And if the center is going to be the true run, see what path you have to run to in this 5 furlong race to get the win. And we'll get some idea earlier of where the running is, but we don't have any sprint 5 furlong races other than this one. So we won't have any measure so to speak, on the speed and what's required to get home in this race.
Well, there's 20 horse field, and it's going to start at, I think, about 10:45 a.m. Eastern time. And in this 20 horse field, Tom, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 horses that want to be on the lead. Another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that want to pressure the lead. And then, so that's 13 out of 20. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, another 5 that can pressure or close, and only 2 true closers. This one's going to have a lot of giddy up and go, I think, Tom. And as you expect that in a 5 furlong race that goes straight. Do you see it the same way?
Yeah. And again, I think it's post position is key. Where you're starting from in the middle, if you're starting in the middle versus the gate is going to be set up on the stand side. So it'll be interesting to see where they go. I don't see them going to that inner rail at all. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about the stand side rail. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, when you have all this potential speed, you got to either be the speed of the speed or a pressure horse with some late legs. Looking at the 2 closers, I only cared for one of them. One was pretty awful, 99-1 morning line. So, I mean, I'd love to have that 91. I was trying to find a way to put it in my picks, but just couldn't do it. So,
you know what's going to happen? It's going to win.
Yeah, he's going to win. I'm going to become the 155-1. Didn't play Rich Strike. Didn't play the 1 or 2 closers at 100-1. All right. So, who do you like in this 20 horse field?
I took number 19. Tease Spirit is my top choice. 13 starts, 3 wins, 2 seconds, and 2/3. Won its last 2 races, and they were at the Class 5 and Class 4 levels. And the description I read was doing enough and then some. Mm-hmm. He appears to be a quickly improving horse, a 4-year-old who seems to need that maturity angle to get himself. His last running, it was really, he sat off the pace and made his move and whatever. I mean, the big thing here is with him is, one, are they too aggressively moving him up into a heritage handicap? But he gets a big weight advantage in this race, which I think will favor him. And getting that weight off doesn't hurt any, especially in a sprint race like this. So I'm hoping for 10-1 because he's been buried as a favorites in other races. Number 10, Living in the Dream.
As
we've all had that in some of our racing. 8 starts, 3 wins, and 1/3. Last out was at Chester in a Class 2 level race, and then it ran into Sandown. I mean, it's been doing what it has to do. It came along the rail to win at Chester. It's a 3-year-old. He's facing older horses. He gets some weight advantage, but he's winning. So and he's doing it pretty nicely. Interestingly, they to get a little extra weight advantage, they're using an apprentice for this horse with a 3-pound allowance, and that may also be, and he has also won on this horse, so it's not like they're using somebody who doesn't know anything about the horse. He's going to be forwardly placed. There's no question in my mind that he's going to be right with the leaders.
Yeah, I have him in my leadership group.
Yeah, the big risk is, for me, is this a little aggressive, or should they be placing him in an easier spot? They obviously they're aiming, I think, for the group races, and seeing if they've got a high class sprinter, and this is a good place to start because this is a good field and it's big field.
Good field, and if you're the speed of the speed, that's what you're hoping for, I think.
Yep. And then I went with number 1, another bottle. Yeah, I felt that way sometimes too.
Sounds like my college days.
And you can look at the weight differences in some of these of the horses I've picked. They've just all over the place. 48 starts, 9 wins, 5 seconds, and 7/3. First of the season, I think, was more of a trial race, enlisted company. He had a good start and didn't finish, is the best way to describe the race. And sometimes I think trainers put him in races to stretch his legs rather than actually wanting to win that race. And I think that was the case with this one. The next start, he ran second in a Class 2. It looked good. And then last out, he went to the front and backed down a little at the end. He lost 2 places and finished 4th. So he was there and didn't finish. Again, another one I think is going to be on or near the lead. He should have a nice run in this with his break. He's going to break from the inside, so he's going to have some trouble, and also because he'll have to get over if the going is good in the middle. He's going to have to get over. Mm-hmm. So I see easily the jockey having to push this horse early. Just a matter of whether you can hold on or not.
I see. Well, based upon the odds, so you can see that I think the favorite in here looks like it's about 5-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the favorite. And then based upon your picks and my picks, so you had 3 horses. I didn't have one of your 3 in my selections. So based upon the odds, based upon our picks, I think this is going to be a wide open race, which makes it a great betting race. So if you can catch the right combination in here, you're going to be all right. Well, I'm going to start with the 6-1 horse, Fine Wine, as my top choice. And Fine Wine last time out at York on a good surface, won by 3 lengths. Been at the distance 9 times, 3 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. So 7 out of 9. That's, if you do that math, that's good. I think if I wrote down that's good in my math class, I would have probably passed that one. It was better than x squared that I wrote down for everything in my geometry class. I figured x squared would be a good answer. I'm going to go with number 13, Dusty Lord, as my second choice. And Dusty Lord, if you take a look at that horse, it's been on the turf 3 times, has a couple of wins. Last time out at Newmarket, finished first by 1 3/4 lengths. And if you look back at the horse's only other 2 race cycle, followed up a win off the bench with another win. So it looks to me like this horse likes to come out of the gate fast, hard, and win. And both of its races on a good surface were its best races. So if you look at the Newmarket race, won by 1 1/4 lengths. Only other time that it got a good track on the turf was at Brighton, where it won by 3. At 6 furlongs. So 2 for 2 on a good track. I'm going to go with number 9 as my third choice, Equality. This is, as I mentioned, there are 2 closers in this field. I expect this race to have a lot of giddy up and go out of the gates. It's going to be a fast one. It's 5 furlongs. It's always going to be fast. But this is the one of the 2 closers. The other closer was the number 6. The 6 horses here is, really Sunday Sovereign was 10-1. Well, when I looked at it, it was a lot higher than that. So
no, it's went from 11-1 to 10-1 to 10-1, so 11-1. So it's drifted very, very little.
Well, I like the 9 horse better than the 6 horse. So I thought it was 99-1. What I was looking at, I have my races mixed up. But anyway, I prefer the 9 over the 6. And then finally, I'm going to close out my picks with number 15, Makatil. This one's going to be 7-1. And so far, like I said, Tom, 4 picks. There's 20 horses in this race between you and me. We picked 35% of the field, right?
Looks that way. You also, in the 15 horse, that's Harry Davis is one of the top apprentices riding right now. So getting a little weight off maybe again and help that horse, especially in a sprint race like this.
Yeah, and the thing about Makatil for me is that the horse should be one of the horses that's like the can pressure and close, but it looks to me like he's either hot or cold on a good track. Either going to win by a lot or he's going to lose by a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a good horse to have in your 4th pick, right? Because if he shows up that day, you're going to get good odds on him. And if he doesn't show up, well, you had him in your 4th pick anyway. So I would probably, whatever you decide to do in this race, I would probably consider, doing some sort of boxing, because it's going to be a wide open race, 20 horses, big sprint. They're going to be bouncing off each other like lottery balls for the pick 4. And it's going to be fun to watch. And then we're going to go to our last race, which is the Cazoo Derby. Is this also the Epsom Derby, Tom?
This would be the Epsom Derby, yeah.
And they changed
the name to 1779 was the first running. The Oaks is actually older.
So right after the Revolutionary War started. Interesting.
Yep. Well, they had a lot of Derby horses long before we thought about it.
And this one's going to be all the way back here at the very tip of the horseshoe. You come up the hill, up the hill, up the hill. Then it's going to flatten out, then run down the hill, down the hill, down the hill, down the hill, and then back uphill to the finish line, Tom. And these long races, I got to imagine in Europe, like many of these long races, you want to focus on the closers, and those would be all the Irish horses, no?
Well, I have two of them, so I think probably it's accurate. The favorite is trained by Sir Michael Stout and won the Dante. But I personally was not hugely impressed by the horse, Desert Crown, and I went elsewhere. And I took number 13, Star of India, as my top choice.
There you go.
3 starts, 2 wins. Last out, it raced to Chester, 10 and a half furlongs, was forwardly placed. Really got going between the 3 and 2 furlong, got some room and won. Right? And strong race. His first race this season, it was a Group 3. He saw the back end of Native Trail at a mile, and a few other courses have found the back end of Native Trail, who won the 1,000 Irish Guineas and was second in the English. He's bred to be a middle distance horse, but and 6 of his 7 siblings are their distances been 6.5 to 10 furlongs. So the question is it too far? Well, his sire is Galileo. He won the English Derby, the Epsom Derby. And one of the things that they did during his stud career, he's dead now, but they were pairing him up with sprinting type mares, and they were getting these middle to longer distance horses. So speed, stamina seems to be what they were looking for, and I think this is what this horse has. And 12-1. As you can see, there's been some drift down, starting at 18 to 20. So there is some interest in this horse.
All right.
My next one choice is number 14, which is also an Aidan O'Brien horse, and that's Stone Age. Has 7 starts, 2 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. His last 2 races have been visually impressive, to say the least. 5.5 lengths win and a 9-length win. He didn't win as a 2-year-old, which suggested to me that he needed to mature. Well, based on those last 2 races, that's the case. He ran in his first maiden race. He ran second to a future stakes winner. So, and then they put him right into, because of that race, they put him into a Group 2 where he's beaten 5 lengths, and then they put him in a Group 1. So they've been putting him in really top company or against top company, but he wasn't producing until he got, really going. Well, the last race as a 2-year-old, he raced at St. Cloud, and it was an extremely soft surface, and he was just not fond of it. The sire again is Galileo. The dam was a distance horse. So, and her other foal never raced. So this is really the only one we have any measure of. And this is an Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore match. And, but I like the other one. There's actually 2 others in this race. Of course, Star of India, which I picked, and then Changing of the Guard is the other horse. And there are people who like that one too. Finally, I took number 9, and Nation's Pride is my final choice. 5 starts, 4 wins, and a second. He had to be supplemental into this race because he was not nominated for it. I don't know how Godolphin missed that one, especially with this record. But it happens. He won his last race by 7. It was a listed race at Newmarket at 10 furlongs. It's only a 4-horse field, but still winning it.
What number is that again?
Pardon me?
What number horse is this again?
This is number 9.
9. Okay, here we go. Nation's Pride.
And, he won a race in Dubai prior to that Newmarket race. Both races are over the good going, which is what he's going to get. He's also run 2 races over the all-weather. which I find interesting. They didn't know really what they had, apparently, because didn't nominate him to this race. And his first race was a second on the turf on good to soft going. So I mean, the horse has been very competitive. The sire was a very good 2-year-old who was unbeaten, but unfortunately had to be retired because of injuries. And he has produced winners everywhere. And really, where he's produced the most winners is in Australia. The dam has produced 3 runners, 2 winners, and she won up to 1 mile and a 16th. So distance, some question, but he won at 10 already. So I think adding a little more is not going to hurt him any. And again, it's Godolphin. William Buick's up. Charlie Appleby. Can't complain.
No, sir. Well, I'm going to start with number 14, Stone H. This horse looks to me like in its 3-year-old campaign, found its groove, won its first race by 9 lengths, the second one by 5.5 lengths, hasn't been challenged. Both of those were on a good surface, likes the surface, seems to be in form. This horse, I think, is going to be really hard to beat, especially if that 3-year-old form is holds up. I like the 2-horse one that you don't like, Tom, Desert Crown, as my second choice. The horse has really only run 2 times, once as a 2-year-old, once as a 3-year-old. It was a Group 2 win last time out, and it was an easy Group 2 win.
Dante is considered to be a very good prep race for this race.
And until somebody challenges this horse, you have to you have to give it its respect. I also like the 9-horse, like you do, Tom, the Mr. Nation's Pride. So this is the first horse we've agreed on in the last 10 picks. That's beautiful. So you might circle this one and put it on the top as the one that's going to win. I mean, outside of its debut, what has this horse done wrong? 4 consecutive wins. None of them were close. The most recent one, as its second race as a 3-year-old, was the biggest win of all. Charles Appleby, William Buick, as you mentioned, that's a combination that you can't ever overlook. And then I'm going to close it out with number 8 right behind it, Nahani. I think that guy played soccer for Portugal, if I remember correctly. This is another horse that's really done nothing wrong. 4 races, and he's a half a length away from being undefeated. 2 of them, the last 2 on turf, won them both. And I don't think the distance is going to be at all a problem for this horse. And it showed that it can win on a good and or soft surface. Now, Mike and a couple of others are talking a little bit about what's going on this side of the ocean. The Penn Mile is tonight. Their big race, their big stuff over there at Penn National. Sean is off today at Penn National, hanging out with Tyler Connor, jockey, one of the top jockeys over at, if not the top jockey over at Penn National. And our Terry Hollywood Hay, although he's not feeling his best, he still put together his best bet of the day. And it is, I believe, the Penn Mile.
It is.
Yes, indeed. So Terry, with his best bet, likes number 8, Fort Washington as his top pick, Annapolis as his second pick, and then his third pick in the Penn Mile is number 6, Whitty. So if you're going to play along at Penn National night, you might want to take a look at Terry's best bet of the day. I'm glad he's back to doing it. I hope, Terry, you're feeling a little bit better today than you have for the last week. Hopefully.
Quick comment on that. Annapolis is undefeated.
Yeah, he's undefeated in 2, and last one was at Belmont. So this is a track drop for him coming from Belmont to
Well,
to
it's still a group. It's a great race, graded race, grade 2 race. So I mean, you have to look at that too as being they're not going to send
something that can't win
claimers in there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I would also keep an eye on our social media sites. I forgot to put it on the bottom. This is usually the first thing I do. If you haven't done so already, please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Horse Race Today. That's the number 2. You can also, while you're here on Horse Racing Radar TV on YouTube, please please follow us, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and also please kindly do like J. Marco, Leo, T&M Hook, Mike Watkins, and Jimmy Little, who have given us a nice thumbs up on Facebook. We appreciate that. We also appreciate the thumbs up on YouTube. But Sean should be if he does what he's supposed to do today. But when you're at the track, you can get carried away. He's got Blake with him, so he's got a little bit of babysitting to do. So
chasing
Blake, yes, indeed. So, and then of course, he's going to get tired after a long day and get cranky and all that kind of stuff. So it can be.
Wouldn't blame him.
So it can be sometimes a little difficult to do what you're supposed to do under those circumstances, but he should have some updates as like the track conditions, some of the comments he gets from the jockeys that he's going to converse with while he's there. So hopefully Sean will have some nice updates for us, some videos, that sort of stuff. So make sure you check that out. And of course, you can always get your picks over at Guaranteed Tip Sheet if you're looking for our Penn National picks today.
Yep.
So make sure you do that. And use a link, please. That's over at horseracingtoday.net to go over there. All right, Tom. Speaking of going over there, we're going to go
look
over.
out for the weather at Penn National, because that
supposed to be ugly today.
I know Indiana canceled their racing for today, so
going to be wet,
being unsuitable.
Yeah,
so I don't know what the last look I saw was supposed to get some good rain. So we'll see.
I think it rained there last year for the Penn Mile, if I remember correctly, too. It was sloppy and muddy. Just that time of year in Pennsylvania. All right, so we're going to go over the English Channel to France now. And we're going to go to, as I pronounce it, Chantilly for the French Derby. And what's the right way, Tom? Chantilly?
Chantilly.
Chantilly. All right. So you got to say it like you got to. This one is going to be good to soft. It is the Qatar Prix du Jockey Club, otherwise known, if you translate to English, the French Derby. And this one is a mile, 2.5 furlongs on a more traditional looking track here, right?
Oh, yeah. It's very traditional.
Yes, it looks like a paperclip, but
2,100 meters they're going to start at.
So it's going to start here, and then I'm not quite sure where it's going to go. It's going to
go all
this
the way around, up and down, and then around, and then
to
come
there.
home.
All right. Well, it's just one big turn and one sharp right-hand turn, right? They go backwards.
Yes.
All right.
Clockwise they race there, where Epsom they race counterclockwise.
So taking a look at this race, Tom, to be honest with you, I can't tell you what the pace is going to look like. I can't tell you anything about it because the amount of information that I could find was pretty limited. So I just basically went with horses that were trending in the right direction, in my opinion. So I'll just get that out of the way real quick. I went with number 7, Modern Games, as my top pick. Again, William Buick, Charles Appleby. I went with number 10, La Suite, as my second pick. Have no idea what the odds are. Apparently, neither do the odds makers. And then number 8, the Acropolis, as my third pick, again, just based upon the way they're trending, because I had no other information. So take my picks, crumple them up, and Kobe them into the trash. Tom, you're better prepared for this. What do you like?
I actually took some really big prices. The first one is number 14, Uzama. It's a French horse. Last out at Chantilly. It ran 2,000 meter listed race and continues to improve. He's run some shorter races, and his longest race has been 2,100. Yes, they're against lesser company, but he's been performing the way you like to see a horse perform. He's not the top rated horse in this race by a long shot, but he's not done anything wrong, and he's got 2 wins and 2 seconds, and to me that just says let's put him. He's a 3-year-old. Let's put him in against this. He's run these distances and he's done well at it. Number 1, Valdenti is my next choice. 5 starts, 3 wins, and a third. He's won and placed at 2 races at Chantilly at the 1,800 meters. Both were at 1,800 meters, and they were in Group 3s. He's unplaced at 1,600 at Paris-Longchamp, running 5th, but that was his first start of the season. So, and he seems to be bred for the longer races. It's just, I think the distance is right. He's owned by the Aga Khan. He's got the right rider, Christopher Somian. Good horse. I don't think you're going to get big odds on him, but you never know. Mm-hmm. The one that I heard a little noise about this morning when I was watching some of the handicapping shows was Onesto, which is number 5, which is my final choice. It's got 4 starts, 2 wins, and a second. He was a winner last time out in a Group 2 at Chantilly at 2,100 meters. He moved strongly at the 400-meter mark and won in hand. Really, that's very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
His first start of the season was not so good. It was a Group 3, and he's another one of those looked like he needed a start. It's interesting. He's by Frankel, and the dam was unraced, but he's proven over the distance, and he's proven it at better company. And I think based on little noises that I heard, he may actually be more favored than I thought he was going to be. I got off Modern Games. He was the Del Mar crazy horse who broke through.
Scratched and then didn't scratch.
And who knows what they were doing with the horse.
Screwed up everybody's tickets.
Oh yeah. And I watched the last race, and visually he was slowing down at the end. It didn't look like they were saving him. It looks like he was just laboring. And I think the 1.5 miles just may be too long for him.
Well, again, like I said, my picks, I just went with what the form looked like to me, which way horses were trending, and we'll see if indeed that plays out. I would pay more attention to Tom's picks.
Well, all right. They're worth what they were worth.
Well, they're worth what they are when the race is over, right, Tom? Before then?
Well, if anybody out there is interested in looking at this race and maybe possibly betting on it, the French Gallup site has the past performances, and they are free, and you can go through the run. They'll give you the runnings. There's also a video replay available, so you can watch some of the races. Of course, they're in French, but you can get the idea. You know how to look at numbers.
Or if you speak French.
And unless you can speak French, and then you're fine. And it gives you some idea. And there's also some charting of those races that have been run that may help you in understanding how the race was run, and give you some fractional times and things like that may help you in your handicapping.
And that's FrenchGallop.com? All right, I'll link to that in
French-Gallup.com.
French-Gallup.com. I'll link to that in the horseracingtoday.net recap of this. We'll post up shortly. So make sure if you have missed anything, obviously you can watch the video, but you can also look for a recap over at horseracingtoday.net. Again, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe on YouTube, all of our social media sites. Tom, we made picks from Monday to Sunday this week.
Yeah, we've been busy.
Yes, indeed. So hopefully we close it out to close out the week strongly at Chantilly.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
And it's a beautiful track. There's a chateau on it. And the racing goes right around where the horses used to be stored for that track. There's a museum there, and it's really a very visually good-looking track.
Well, if you get a chance to go on over there again, watch the races on Saturday and Sunday. They should be fun, big races. So while you're getting ready for the racing stateside, you can take advantage of the Epsom races tomorrow, Saturday. And then, of course, the race at Chantilly on Sunday.
The race at Chantilly is a little under $2 million race.
Yeah, not too bad. You can get a car like Tyler Gaffleone if you win that one. All right, Thomas, any final thoughts before we get up out of here? Terry and I
if anybody's got any idea on that 5 furlong race, please send it to us, because just anything could happen in that race.
Yeah, 20 horses, 7 different picks. So congratulations. We have no idea.
Yeah.
I would pick out of that other 13.
Help us, please do.
I would probably look at that other 13 for sure. All right, Thomas. It's been a fun week together. Have a fantastic Saturday and Sunday. No matter where you're betting, England, France, this side, stateside, the Penn Mile tonight, and all those other potentially sloppy races. We hope that your day, your weekend, and everything that you do ends up in the
winner's circle.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.